I came home a day early, a lemon tart in one hand, a tin of jasmine tea in the other, picturing Linda's old smile. The house smelled like bleach, sterile, not a trace of her shampoo or our morning coffee. Her toothbrush was gone. Half the closet empty. A suitcase sat by the door, zipped tight like she'd planned it for weeks. On the fridge, a note in her neat handwriting. Went to Tennessee. Need space. Alone. Don't worry. I stood there, the tart's citrus sting in my nose, and opened her Instagram on my work phone. A new story. Linda at a campfire, laughing, a guy's arm around her, mountains in the background. Caption: sometimes you need to breathe free. Not alone. Not lost. She'd rewritten me out of her life, and I was the last to know. Now I'm at a truck stop diner off Route 80, Indiana, at a chipped Formica table, nursing burnt coffee in a styrofoam cup. The jukebox hums Johnny Cash, low and mournful, the waitress scrubbing the counter like it's all that's holding her together. Across the room, a couple argues in whispers, her arms crossed, his hands flailing, trying to fix what's already broken. Her face, tight and distant, is Linda's from a year ago, green eyes that stopped seeing me. I set the cup down, the clink sharp in my skull, and wonder why I'm telling you this. What would you do if your life unraveled and no one bothered to tell you why? 8 years ago, I was 33, hauling freight across state lines, my world stuffed in a duffel bag and a thermos of gas station coffee. My jacket got ruined at a campsite. Too much lighter fluid, bad decision. So I stopped at an Ohio outlet mall. Digging through clearance racks, I met Linda, a sales consultant with dark hair in a messy bun, green eyes that sized me up in seconds. I was trying on a gray parka when she said, "Gray makes you look half dead. Try burgundy." No nonsense, just a smirk that caught me off guard. I mumbled something about not needing style in a truck cab, my hands greasy from a long haul. She handed me the burgundy one, her number scrawled on the receipt in blue ink. I walked out, heart thumping, thinking she was miles out of my league. We started slow, meeting at a highway diner. She'd order black coffee and cherry pie, slicing the crust into tiny squares while venting about her day. Rude customers. Her boss hovering like a vulture. I'd share stories of weird hauls, like a trailer of plastic flamingos headed to Nevada or a load of knockoff sneakers that spilled on I-70. Her laugh was sharp, like you'd earned it, pulling you into her world. One night, we took my rig to a lake an hour out, set up a portable stove, grilled burgers under the stars. Her friends came, two loud girls from her store, giggling over inside jokes, and a quiet guy who kept checking his phone, barely saying a word. We stayed up late, swatting mosquitoes, Linda leaning into me under a scratchy blanket, her hair smelling of lavender. I looked at her, silhouetted against the fire, and thought, this is what people mean by home. A year later, we rented a duplex, creaky pine floors, a fridge that whined like a busted alternator. I was gone a lot, driving cross-country, but when I was back, we were solid. She'd ride along sometimes, her feet up on the dash, reading me trucker forum posts about some guy bolting a microwave to his passenger seat or a driver smuggling a pet goat. We'd laugh until our sides hurt, the road stretching out like it belonged to us. She sent me letters on long hauls, handwritten, with doodles of my rig or her sticking out her tongue, sometimes a Polaroid of her in a sundress, grinning at the camera. I'd tape them to my dash, glance at them when the highway got lonely, her words keeping me grounded. We got married at a courthouse, nothing fancy. She wore a white dress that hugged her hips, her hair loose for once. My suit pinched my shoulders, the only one I owned. Her sister and my buddy Tom from the trucking company stood as witnesses, Tom clapping me on the back, so hard I nearly stumbled. After, we ate pizza at a greasy spoon, fed quarters into the jukebox, danced slow to Springsteen's Thunder Road. Her cheek pressed against my chest, and I swore I'd give her more than a rented duplex. I started taking extra runs, saving for a house, a flat lot with scraggly pines an hour outside town. I poured the foundation myself, my hands blistered from mixing concrete. Linda sitting on a cement bag, eating takeout lo mein, debating paint colors. She wanted green for the bedroom, like a forest. I pushed for brown, like the inside of my cab. We'd argue, laugh, end up kissing in the sawdust, dreaming of a camper trip to Alaska someday. Just us and the open road. Building that house took a year. My back ached from laying floorboards, my knuckles scarred from wrestling pipes into place. Linda would show up after her shifts, thermos of soup in hand, her jeans dusted with flour from the store. We'd sit on the unfinished porch, sharing chicken noodle, planning where to hang pictures. When we moved in, we threw a barbecue, her friends, a few of mine, the smell of charcoal and apple pies she'd baked filling the air. She danced barefoot in the kitchen to Aerosmith, her hair loose, feet smudging the tiles I'd laid. She caught me staring, stuck out her tongue, said, Quit gawking, trucker. Check the grill. I grabbed her waist, spun her around, her laugh echoing. I thought, how'd I get this lucky? But things erode, slow like rust on a chassis. Local work dried up, so I took longer hauls. Michigan, Wyoming, Oregon. 2, 3 weeks out, sometimes more. I'd call from truck stops, semis roaring in the background, the phone pressed to my ear. Linda's answers got shorter, clipped. I'm fine, Dan. Busy. Her voice was flat, like she was reading a manual, no trace of the laugh that used to warm me. I'd come home to a cold house, dishes piled in the sink, her shoes kicked off by the door like she'd just breezed through. She'd shrug, say work was hectic, her eyes avoiding mine. I'd nod, too exhausted from the road to push, and crash on the couch, the springs digging into my back, the house smelling of dust and neglect. The first crack hit after an Omaha run. I drove 16 hours straight to surprise her, my eyes burning, wanting to see her face light up. Pulled into the driveway at dawn, her car gone, the house dark. Inside, the fridge held a jar of kale salad, a carton of soy milk, none of the bread, eggs, or coffee we used to keep stocked. The kitchen smelled faintly of bleach, not her cooking. I called her. You're back? She said, voice startled, like I'd caught her off guard. At work. Late shift. She got home at 10, brushed my forehead with a kiss like I was a kid, and headed straight for the shower. I lay in our bed, the green walls she'd wanted mocking me, staring at the ceiling until it blurred. When had I stopped being part of her day? Things got uglier. One night, driving to the grocery store, radio off, just the hum of my pickup's engine, I gripped the wheel, my knuckles white. Lynn, something's off. You're not here with me anymore. She stared out the passenger window, her reflection pale in the glass. What's that supposed to mean, Dan? Her tone was sharp, defensive. I kept my voice steady. You're distant. Like I'm in your way. She turned, eyes flashing. You're gone all the time, Dan. I'm not your dog, sitting by the door, waiting for you to roll in. My chest tightened. I'm working for us. For this house. For you. She laughed, a bitter sound that cut. Maybe I don't need a house. Maybe I need someone who's actually here, not some ghost who shows up every 3 weeks. I opened my mouth to argue, but my throat locked up. What do you want from me, Lynn? I asked, quieter. She looked away. I don't know. Just not this. The silence was heavier than the load I'd hauled that week. We shopped like strangers, her grabbing yogurt, me tossing bread in the cart. No words, the air between us thick with things unsaid. I tried to pull us back. One evening, I cooked dinner, steak, mashed potatoes, green beans, the works. Set the table with our good plates, lit a candle, hoping for a spark. She walked in, her purse slung over her shoulder, and sniffed the air. Smells nice, she said, but her voice was flat. I ate at work, though. She opened the fridge, pulled out a yogurt, and sat on the couch, phone in hand, earbuds in. The candle flickered, wax pooling on the tablecloth. I sat across from an empty plate, the steak going cold, the fork heavy in my hand. I ate alone, the kitchen quiet except for the hum of the fridge, her silhouette lit by her phone screen. I wondered when we'd stopped sharing meals. At a barbecue with her friends, I tried to lighten things, telling a story about a tire blowout in Iowa, my rig wobbling on the shoulder. I thought it'd get a laugh. Linda cut me off, her voice loud enough to carry across the yard. Dan, not everyone's obsessed with your trucker tales. Then, quieter, to her friend Sarah, but loud enough for me to hear. At least someone's job pays decently. The words landed like a slap. The yard went quiet, forks pausing midair. Jane, her other friend, stared at her plate, uncomfortable. I forced a chuckle, said, guess I'll stick to flipping burgers, and changed the subject, my neck burning. Inside, I was reeling. When had she started seeing my work as a joke? I kept trying. Asked her to come to my mom's 60th birthday, a 2-hour drive to my hometown. It'd mean a lot to her, I said, keeping my tone light. She didn't look up from her laptop, some show paused on the screen. An hour's drive for dry cake and small talk? Pass. Her voice was bored, like I'd asked her to scrub the floors. I stood there, waiting for her to look at me, but she didn't. Fine, I said, grabbing my keys. I'll go alone. I told Mom Linda had a work thing, but Mom's eyes lingered on me, like she knew. You two okay, Danny? She asked, her voice soft. I shrugged, said, just busy, and changed the subject, but her question stuck with me, heavy as a loaded trailer. I fixed things around the house, thinking it'd ground us. Repaired a leaky faucet in the bathroom, my knuckles scraped raw from the wrench, the pipes groaning as I tightened them. It's done, I told her, wiping sweat from my forehead, proud of the work. She was on the couch, scrolling through her phone, a reality show blaring. Took you long enough, she muttered, not looking up, her thumb flicking across the screen. I stood in the doorway, waiting for a glance, a thank you, anything. She hit play, the TV's noise filling the silence. I walked away, the wrench still in my hand, my chest tight. I tried gifts. Bought her a necklace, silver, with a tiny truck charm, something I thought would make her smile, remind her of our early days. I wrapped it in a small box, left it on her pillow after a long haul. She came home, saw it, picked it up. Cute, she said, her voice flat, and tossed it on the dresser next to a pile of receipts. The next day, I saw her post a story online. A new sweater, soft blue, tagged with, "Thanks, coworker," and a heart emoji. The necklace sat untouched, gathering dust. I stared at it, my stomach twisting, wondering who this coworker was, why their gift mattered more than mine. One morning, I noticed her toothbrush was dry, like she hadn't used it in days. The guest room bed was made, but the pillow had a dent, like she'd slept there. "You okay in the guest room?" I asked, keeping my tone even, though my pulse was climbing. She shrugged, pouring coffee into her mug, not mine. "You snore, Dan. I rest better alone." Her words were casual, but they cut, small and sharp, like stepping on glass. I nodded, didn't push, but it stung, a quiet humiliation I couldn't name. Her clothes were always washed, folded neatly in her drawers. My shirts piled up in the hamper, some still smelling of diesel from the road. I found a receipt on the counter, 2 coffees, a scone, from a shop I'd never heard of, dated a day I was hauling in Wyoming. Her perfume was gone from the bathroom counter. "Misplaced it," she said when I asked, her eyes flicking away, her fingers tapping her phone. I tried one more time to pull us back. Planned a camping trip, like the old days by the lake. I spent an evening in the garage, checking the tent, cleaning the portable stove, the air thick with oil and metal shavings. "Let's go camping this weekend," I said, leaning against the kitchen counter. "Just us, a fire, some stars." She was scrolling her phone, didn't look up. "I'm not sleeping in a tent, Dan. It's suffocating." Her voice was tired, like I was asking for too much. I pushed, hopeful. "We'll get a motel, something nice, a view." She sighed, sharp and final. "You still don't get it, do you?" She walked past me, her shoulder brushing mine, leaving me standing there, the words stuck in my throat. I went back to the garage, organized my tools until midnight, the clank of metal the only sound that made sense. Then, a flicker of hope. One evening, I was in the garage, sharpening cargo straps, the grinder humming, my hands black with grease. Linda walked in, holding 2 mugs of coffee, steam rising from them. "Thought you could use this," she said, setting one on my workbench. Her voice was soft, like it used to be. My heart jumped. Maybe this was a start. "Thanks," I said, wiping my hands, trying not to sound too eager. We stood there, sipping coffee, the garage smelling of oil and cedar. She asked about my last haul, actually listened when I told her about a detour through Idaho, the mountains glowing at dusk. I cracked a joke about a trucker I met with a pet lizard, and she laughed, not her old laugh, but close enough to spark something in me. "We should do something soon," I said, testing the waters. She nodded, vague. "Yeah, maybe." She left after that, but I held on to it, replaying her laugh in my head, thinking maybe we could find our way back. The next day, it was gone. I made breakfast, pancakes, her favorite, with real maple syrup I'd picked up in Vermont. Set the table, called her name. She came downstairs, phone in hand, earbuds in. "I'm late for work," she said, grabbing an apple from the counter. Didn't even glance at the stack of pancakes, golden and steaming. "You sure?" I asked, my voice tighter than I meant. She paused, looked at me like I was a stranger. "I'm good, Dan." She walked out, the door clicking shut. I stood there, the spatula in my hand, the kitchen smelling of syrup and wasted effort. That laugh in the garage felt like a trick, a mirage on a desert road. Another night, I broke. Came home after a week hauling, my back aching from loading crates, the garage reeking of oil and metal shavings. Linda was on the couch, texting, her face lit by her phone's glow. "Who's that?" I asked, sharper than I meant, my voice rough from exhaustion. She locked the screen, glared up at me. "Work. Why's it matter?" I stepped closer, heat rising in my chest. "Because you're never here, Lynn. I'm out there killing myself for us, building this life, and you're checked out." She stood, her eyes cold as the February wind. "Maybe I don't want to be stuck in this house, Dan. Maybe I'm done waiting for you to show up and play husband for a weekend." Her words hit like a fist. I gripped the counter, my voice low. "I'm doing this for you. For us. What do you want me to do, quit?" She laughed, short and cutting. "You think this is about your job? I don't even know who you are anymore." She stormed to the bedroom, the door slamming so hard the walls shook. I punched the drywall, my knuckles stinging, a dent left behind. Slept in the guest room that night, the silence heavier than my rig's engine. Her friend Jane came by one evening while I was in the garage, grinding cargo straps, the air thick with sawdust and grease. She leaned on my workbench, sipping coffee from one of our mugs. You see it, right? She said, her voice low, like she didn't want to say it. I stopped, the blade still in my hand. See what? Her eyes held mine, steady, pitying. Linda's moved on, Dan. Found her own happiness. Without you. My grip tightened, the metal cold against my palm. She's with someone else? Jane paused, shook her head, but her face wasn't sure. I'm not saying that. But she's not here, not really. Don't cling to what's already gone. She left, her footsteps fading, the grinder's hum swallowing the quiet. I stood there, replaying every moment. Her locked phone, her late nights, the way she'd pull away if my hand brushed her shoulder. I'd been hauling loads, building a house, while she was building a life without me. Then, another flicker. One Sunday, I was tinkering with my rig's carburetor in the driveway, oil smearing my forearms. Linda came out, leaned against the porch rail. Watching me. You're good at that, she said, her voice soft, almost like before. I looked up, surprised, my wrench pausing. Years of practice, I said, cautious. She smiled. Not her old grin, but enough to stir something. Remember when I rode with you to Reno? We stopped at that diner with the awful pie? I nodded, my chest loosening. Yeah, you said it tasted like cardboard. She laughed, a real laugh, and for a second, I saw her, the Linda who doodled on my letters. We should do a trip like that again, I said, my voice careful, hopeful. She looked away, her smile fading. Maybe, she said, then went inside. I stood there, the wrench heavy in my hand, wanting to believe it was a sign. That night, I found her in the guest room, asleep, her phone glowing on the nightstand. The hope felt like a lie, but I held on to it, desperate. My brother Tom came over a week later, while I was patching a hole in the living room drywall, the air smelling of plaster and sweat. He sat on the couch, sipping coffee, watching me work. Dan, you good? He asked, his voice gruff, like he already knew the answer. I kept smoothing the spackle, avoiding his eyes. Yeah, just busy. He leaned forward, elbows on his knees. Look, man, I ain't one to pry. But, is Linda even here anymore? Like really here? I froze, the putty knife still in my hand. What's that mean? He sighed, scratching his beard. Saw her at some coffee shop last week, laughing with some guy. Didn't look like a work thing. Just thought you should know. My stomach dropped, but I kept my face steady. She's got friends, Tom. It's fine. He shook his head. Friends don't look at each other like that. Just watch yourself, okay? He left, and I stood there, the spackle drying on the knife, Tom's words looping in my head. I didn't want to believe it, but the pieces were falling into place. I stopped trying after that. Stopped asking about her day, stopped reaching for her in bed. I ate at the kitchen counter, slept in the guest room, left for halls without saying goodbye. The house felt like a way station, a place to pass through, not live in. I kept working, my hands calloused from loading crates, my rig's engine the only thing I could trust. The garage became my refuge, the smell of oil and metal grounding me, my tools lined up like soldiers. Linda moved through the house like a stranger, her footsteps light, her presence fading. I found her coffee mug washed, mine crusted with grounds. Her clothes folded, mine ignored. A receipt for 2 lattes from that same shop, dated a day I was in Oregon. Her toothbrush, always dry. I stopped asking, stopped caring, but every night, lying in the guest room, I'd wonder where I went wrong. The end came after a snowy haul through Ohio. I'd been gone 3 weeks, the road a blur of ice and headlights. I cut the trip short, drove all night to surprise her, picturing her old smile, the one from the lake, from the diner days. Stopped at her favorite bakery, bought a lemon tart and a tin of jasmine tea, her favorites. My hands shook as I paid, hoping this could be a reset. Pulled into the driveway at 6 a.m., her car gone, the house dark. Inside, it smelled wrong, sterile, like bleach, not the warm mix of her shampoo and our coffee. The kitchen was spotless, counters bare, no dishes, no crumbs. The fridge was nearly empty, just that jar of kale salad and a half carton of soy milk. Her toothbrush was gone from the bathroom, the sink gleaming like a showroom. I checked the bedroom, half her closet empty, hangers swinging bare. A suitcase sat by the front door, black, zipped tight, like it was waiting for a cab. On the kitchen counter, a note in her neat handwriting. Went to Tennessee. Need space. Alone. Don't worry. I stood there, the tea tin cold in my hand, the jasmine scent sharp, mocking. Alone? I didn't buy it. My gut twisted, but I needed to know. I grabbed my work phone, opened her Instagram. A new story. Linda at a campfire, mountains behind her, laughing with a group of people I didn't know. A guy's arm was slung around her shoulders, casual but too close. She was grinning, her hair loose, the firelight catching her eyes. Caption: sometimes you need to breathe free. I scrolled back, my thumb shaking. Another story, Posted yesterday. Her with the same guy, hiking, a selfie with a valley below them. No mention of Tennessee, no hint of alone. My chest burned, the tart still in my hand, the plastic container creaking under my grip. I clicked her profile, found an older post, a photo of her at that coffee shop, the one from the receipt, smiling with a guy in a flannel shirt. Tagged, work buddy, best coffee runs. The date matched a week I was in Wyoming. I set the tart on the counter, my hand steady, but my mind racing. I wanted to call her, demand answers, hear her voice crack as she explained. I typed out a text. Tennessee, huh? Who's the guy? But I deleted it. What was the point? I walked through the house. Every room is strangers. The green bedroom walls, the ones she'd picked, felt like a lie. The floorboards I'd laid, the pipes I'd wrestled into place, the porch where we'd planned our future, they weren't mine anymore. I'd built this house with my hands, every brick, every nail, but there was no place for me here if she could walk away like this. I sat at the kitchen table, the note staring back. I thought about waiting, confronting her when she came back. If she came back. I pictured us talking, her explaining, maybe crying, maybe saying it was a mistake. I could hear my voice, calm but firm, asking why she didn't just tell me. I could see her looking away, like she always did now, her answers vague. The longer I sat, the clearer it got. She wasn't coming back to talk. She'd already left, not just the house, but me. The suitcase, the note, the stories, they were her goodbye, written in pieces while I was still hauling loads, still believing we could fix it. I didn't leave. I changed the locks. That afternoon, I drove to the hardware store, bought a new deadbolt, and installed it myself, my hand steady as I turned the screws. Every twist felt final, like I was sealing something shut. I wasn't angry, just done. She'd walked out, but this house, this life I'd built, was mine. I transferred my half of our joint account to a new one, canceled our shared cards, locked her out of my GPS tracker. I didn't want her knowing where I was, didn't want her thinking she could breeze back in. 4 days later, my phone buzzed while I was in the garage, tightening a bolt on my rig's spare tire rack, the air thick with grease and metal. A text from Linda. I'm at the house. Key doesn't work. What's going on? I stared at the screen, my thumb hovering, the wrench heavy in my other hand. Another text. Dan, you seriously locked me out? I stepped onto the porch, saw her car in the driveway, her silhouette on the steps, trying her key again, the lock clicking uselessly. She looked up, saw me through the window, her face a mix of confusion and irritation. I opened the door, stood in the frame, keeping it half closed. You left, Linda, I said, my voice calm, steady, like I was stating a fact. This isn't your house anymore. You walked out. I just made it permanent. She blinked, her mouth tightening. What are you doing, Dan? You're really not letting me in. Her voice had an edge, like she was testing me, expecting me to fold. I leaned against the doorframe, my arms crossed. You said you needed space. You got it. That door doesn't swing both ways anymore. She stepped closer, her eyes searching mine, maybe looking for the guy who'd always let her slide. You're serious, she said, quieter, almost disbelieving. After everything, you're just done? I nodded, my jaw tight. You were done first. I just caught up. She stood there, her keys dangling, the suitcase still by the door inside. For a second, I thought she'd push, argue, maybe cry. But she just shook her head, muttered, fine, and walked back to her car. The engine started, and she drove off, tires crunching on the gravel. I closed the door, the new lock clicking sharp. I stood there, staring at the empty hallway, feeling no triumph, just tired, like I'd set down a load I'd carried too long. That week, I filed for divorce. I sat at the kitchen table, the same one where I'd found her note, and filled out the papers, my pen scratching in the quiet. I called her the next day, told her we needed to settle things. We met at a diner near her store, not our old one, just a neutral spot with chipped mugs and sticky tables. I slid the papers across, my hand steady. This is it, Lynn, I said. You keep your car, your clothes, whatever you left. The house is mine. She looked at the papers, her face blank, like she was reading a grocery list. Guess that's it, then, she said, her voice flat. No fight, no tears. I waited for more, some spark of regret. But she just signed, pushed the papers back, and stood up. Take care, Dan, she said, like I was a coworker she'd never see again. I watched her walk out, her purse slung over her shoulder, the bell above the door jingling. She didn't look back. I sat there, the papers in front of me, feeling like I'd closed a gate I'd been holding open too long. I didn't yell, didn't break anything. I packed what was left of her things, some sweaters, a pair of boots, a scarf she'd left in the closet, and left them in a box on the porch for her to pick up. I kept the house, every nail, every scar, every silence I'd swallowed to hold it together. I went back to work, My hands calloused from loading crates. My rig's engine the only thing I could trust. The garage was my refuge, the smell of oil and metal grounding me, my tools lined up like soldiers. One night, I found her old cassette in my glove box, Linda's 2000s hits. Her favorite song started, Poppy and Bright. I ejected it, tossed it on the passenger seat, and drove in silence, the highway stretching black and endless. A month later, she texted, "Where are you? We need to talk." No apology, no explanation, just her words glowing on my screen. I stared at them, my thumb hovering. Another text, "Don't just cut me out, Dan." I deleted them, blocked her number. Went through my rig, found her old letters, her recipes taped to the dash, borscht, apple pie, her neat handwriting. I tossed them in a truck stop dumpster, didn't look back. I didn't want her scent on my shelves anymore. Jane was right. Linda didn't cheat, didn't scream. She just erased me, piece by piece, while I was still there, building a life she didn't want. I was a shadow she stepped around. Now, I'm back in the house, my house. Tonight, I'm sitting on the porch, the air cool, the pines rustling in the dark. I'm grilling a burger on that old portable stove, the one we used by the lake. The coals glow, the meat sizzles, and the smell fills the quiet. I'm not waiting for her footsteps, her key, her voice. For the first time, the house feels like it fits. Just me, the walls I built, the life I'm making. I take a bite, the bun's soft, the burger charred just right. Jane texted last week. "You good?" I wrote back, "Better than I've been." And I meant it. Linda's gone. Maybe Tennessee, maybe somewhere else. I don't check. That life we had is just a memory, fading like a road sign in my rearview. Sometimes, I see a couple at a diner, sharing a laugh over coffee, and it cuts, sharp and quick. But then I walk to my rig, turn the key, feel the engine rumble under me. Or I come back here, to this porch, this house, and fix something. A loose board, a creaky hinge. The road's mine, the house is mine, and I owe nothing to anyone. What would you do if you had to start from nothing?